How small are we? I mean, if we would just walk out our door on a clear night and just look at all the stars and all the planets and the galaxies, we would begin to have a shrinking feeling overcome us because, let's just face it, we're a very small speck in the vastness of our universe. But I'm here today to talk about how did it come into existence. A lot of us have been force-fed this idea of a Big Bang theory and how the universe just formed out of nothing, but we never really hear much more than that. Today I'm here to give you another choice, and I'm going to try to present this information in such a way that you will see the fallacies in the Big Bang theory and try to strengthen the idea of an all-powerful creator. But let's start with the Big Bang theory. I'm going to read you a statement from Alan Guth and G.P. Steinhardt of Scientific America, 1984. The observable universe would have evolved from an infinitesimal region. It's then tempting to go one step further and speculate that the entire universe evolved literally from nothing. So basically what that's saying is that the universe came from an infinitesimal point, a dot, so to say, and out of all of that, boom, it exploded, and all this was made. Now, the reason they get this is because the universe is expanding. The Bible says that God stretches the heavens. So he's moving these planets, these galaxies apart. But scientists believe that since these stars are expanding, since everything is moving apart, that they can extrapolate backwards and say that since everything is moving apart, then it's safe to say that at one point they were all closer together. And if they were closer together at one point, then it's safe to say that everything was concentrated in that one point. Okay, now they can say that, and it's very logical, I guess, if you want to put it that way, but there are several laws that the Big Bang theory breaks. And if you break one law, then it can't necessarily become, accurate. It kind of disproves itself. There's this thing, it's called the cosmological principle. And basically what that says, if there was an explosion, particles would have shot out and be equally distributed. We don't see that in our universe. We see that the stars and the galaxies, they're all clustered together and there's no uniformity in the universe. It's like I said, you have your globular clusters, and you have your planets. Everything is just split, splat, splatter everywhere. There's no uniformity. So that's one law that the Big Bang theory disregards. I don't know if they overlooked it or what. Then there's the theory of angular momentum. Now what this is basically saying is that, okay, there was a problem with the Big Bang theory. Let me step back just a little bit. Also, we see everything in the universe is spinning. That presented a problem for the I guess fathers of the Big Bang Theory, because if everything is spinning, then they had to kind of give a reason for that. They had to say that, well, if everything in the universe is spinning, then that point, that infinitesimal point, had to be spinning as well. So it was spinning and it kept spinning, and it got so fast that when it exploded, everything came out. And mind you, the Big Bang Theory forgot the law that everything would have been uniformly distributed. But they say that if it was spinning in such a way, everything would, when it exploded, everything would have came out spinning. So that's how they kind of put a label on that. But there's a problem. If that point was spinning and it exploded, everything that came out would have been spinning in the same exact direction. But we don't see that. We see in planets like Pluto, well, Pluto's no longer considered a planet, but Neptune, we see that they're spinning the opposite way. Now, even Jupiter and Saturn, their moons, they have moons spinning in both directions. It's kind of odd that they kind of disband the law of angular momentum. So we see two notches on the Big Bang Theory. Now, there's another issue. It's a big issue for me because it's kind of personal, because the Big Bang Theory says that everything evolved from nothing. There was an explosion, and there was dust particles mixed with gas, all this thing. So basically they're saying we came from nothing. And I believe God has put us here with a purpose, and He has a purpose in everything He does. And in the Bible, I believe it's in Job, He talks about who can loose the bands of Orion, and who can bound Pleiades. Now, Pleiades is a sister of galaxies that are bound together. And if you recall, everything in the galaxy is spreading apart. Scientists have just recently, and the Bible is 4,000 plus years old, but scientists had just recently found that these sister galaxies of Pleiades are not moving apart from each other. They're saying the same distance. And we find in Job, he says, who can bound them? And they're staying the same, and they're not moving apart. And he also says in Job, who can loose the bands of Orion? Now, scientists also have just recently proven, with the Bible being foretelling it some 4,000 years ago, that who can loose the bands of Orion, and scientists have found now that the bands in Orion's belt are moving apart at breathtaking speeds. And I find it interesting that we can have a book that can tell us these things that have happened in the past and that are happening even now. And it's in Proverbs chapter 8 where it says, the works of thy hands, talking about the universe and how mindful He is of us. And I just thank God every day that He is mindful, because we are just a speck of dust in the vastness of this universe. And so now you have two sides of the story. You see the fallacies in the Big Bang Theory, and I gave you just one example. And due to time constraints, I could have went into Isaiah, and where he says he stretches out the heavens like a tent. But I think the evidence is sufficient enough for you to make a decision, and just be mindful that there are more options out there, and we are not we're not useless. We're not just some dust that has no purpose. God has put us here. God has ordered all of our circumstances. Nothing happens by happenstance, and you have a purpose.